Ever get that feeling like a piece of art is watching you back? Kind of gives you the creeps, right? Well, today we're going deep into creepy territory
Oh, yeah.
with this story. It's called The Cursed Canvas and Its Shadowy Inhabitants.
Okay.
And it's all about this guy, Ethan Cole. He loves collecting antiques, but he has a thing for the unusual, you know?
I can see where this is going.
Exactly. So he ends up with this haunted painting, and things go very, very wrong.
Yeah.
We're going to figure out how the author builds all this suspense. Like, how do they make it so scary just by changing the painting a little? And, of course, all those supernatural elements.
Hmm. It's interesting how the author, this guy A.L. Blackwood, sets everything up.
Yeah.
He doesn't start us off in some spooky graveyard or a room covered in blood.
Right, right.
Instead, we're at this fancy auction, a place people connect with beautiful things, expensive things. So using that kind of setting, well, it makes you feel uneasy right away.
I see what you're saying. It's like something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it.
Exactly. It hints that there's something dark hidden under all this normalcy.
That's such a good point. And you know what? Our main character, Ethan Cole, he doesn't exactly seem like he's afraid of much.
Oh, really?
No, I mean, he collects all this weird, unusual stuff. And when they warn him about the painting being cursed at the auction,
Yeah.
he practically laughs it off. Makes you wonder if he's almost asking for trouble, you know?
Oh, absolutely. This is like classic horror movie stuff. The main character ignores all the warnings. It's like they're tempting fate.
Right. But it also says something about us, don't you think? I mean, we're all drawn to the mysterious, the unknown.
Oh, for sure. Ethan's so obsessed with getting his hands on these bizarre things that he's blind to the danger.
Like he just dismisses the curse as if it's nothing, just superstition.
Totally. It's a common thing, especially in psychological horror.
Ooh, is that what you'd call this story? Psychological horror?
Yeah, I think so.
For those listening who might not know, what exactly does that mean?
Well, it's all about messing with the characters' minds.
Okay, interesting.
Instead of all those jump scares and gore,
Hmm.
psychological horror really gets under your skin. It makes you feel that creeping dread slowly until it just explodes.
Oh, I get it. It's like the suspense just keeps building and building.
Exactly. It's more about what's going on in their heads than what's actually happening. Think about it. The whispers, the way the painting changes, Ethan slowly going crazy,
Yeah.
it all adds to this feeling of something's not right here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let's talk about this painting. You know, we don't get the typical scary face or anything like that.
No.
It's just a woman in a dark green dress, standing in a hallway, kind of dimly lit.
Hmm.
Pretty normal, right?
Right.
But then the author throws in this detail about her eyes. Like, they seem to follow Ethan. It's such a small thing, but it's so effective, you instantly get this unsettling vibe. Why do you think the author chose to do that? Just hint at the supernatural.
That's the brilliance of it, because what we imagine is way scarier than anything someone could describe.
Sure.
So, by leaving things a bit vague, he lets our own minds fill in the blanks. That makes it even creepier.
Yeah, it's like our own fears become part of the story.
Right. And it also makes you question if anything's actually changing or if Ethan's just losing it.
Oh, you're totally right. It's like, is it the painting or is it all in his head?
It's like he's messing with us,
Mm,
making us doubt what's real.
mm.
That's a huge part of psychological horror, blurring those lines between reality and delusion.
It's like he's planting these little seeds of doubt in our minds and we're just waiting for them to sprout. And then there's those little changes in the painting. Those are where things get really interesting. We hear about the woman's expression. She goes from looking normal to like smirking a little.
Really?
Yeah. And then shadowy figures start appearing behind her in the hallway.
Wow.
Each change is small, almost like you wouldn't notice it. But together they create this growing sense of dread. Like you said, it's all about that buildup.
Exactly. And it's really clever how he uses the painting itself to create the suspense.
Hmm.
Like, it's more than just a scary picture, right?
Right.
These subtle changes, maybe they're just reflecting Ethan's own mental state. As he gets more obsessed with the painting and the whole curse thing, maybe his grip on reality is slipping.
Whoa. It's like the painting is this dark mirror reflecting his own inner turmoil.
Yeah, exactly.
That's such a creepy thought. So is the painting evil on its own? Or is Ethan somehow influencing it?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the author never really gives us a straight answer.
Which, of course, makes it even more unsettling.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
But then he adds another layer to the suspense. Sound. Remember how Ethan starts hearing whispers at night?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's like they're so faint at first, and then they just get louder and more menacing.
And that leads us to one of the most terrifying parts of the story.
Yeah.
when something actually starts to come out of the painting. It's described as this tall, impossibly thin thing with those classic glowing eyes.
It's like something straight out of a nightmare.
Totally.
Yeah.
But even here, the author doesn't go overboard. It's not about all the gory details. It's about how this thing moves. Slow and deliberate. That's what makes it so creepy.
So much scarier than just describing some monster, right?
It really is. It taps into our deepest fear of the unknown. He leaves the real horror up to our imagination.
And then just when you think it can't get any worse, Ethan does something that makes everything so much more intense.
What's that?
He tries to get control of the situation. He takes the painting up to the attic.
Oh, no. Everyone knows that's never a good idea in a horror story.
Exactly. But he thinks he's solved the problem just by hiding it away, right?
Right.
But that's where things really spiral out of control. This attic scene is so well written, so suspenseful, and it starts with that slow, creaking sound of the attic door opening.
Ooh, it's like that moment in a movie when you know something bad is about to happen.
Yes. And the author doesn't disappoint. First, there's these heavy footsteps. Then there's 3 knocks. You can practically feel them, like it's happening to you.
Wow.
And then those chilling whispers, "Let me in!"
Oh, it's so creepy.
It's such a simple phrase, but it confirms that this painting isn't just some object, it's alive. It wants to escape.
And Ethan, even with his fascination with the dark side, well, he's in way over his head.
It makes you think, is the painting itself evil? Or is it like a portal to something even worse, lurking beyond the canvas?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's like the story is playing with us. Is it just Ethan's mind, or are there real supernatural forces at work?
That's a seriously unsettling thought, and it perfectly sets the stage for what comes next. What other tricks do you think Blackwood uses to make us feel this intense dread? Like, how does he use the setting, the characters, all those creepy elements to keep us hooked?
Well, that's what's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Because he actually utilizes the setting in such a clever way. Like you think about a haunted attic, you picture cobwebs and dust, maybe a creepy doll or two.
Yeah.
But here, it's the emptiness that gets to you. The way Blackwood describes it, it feels huge, echoing.
Like it's a space waiting to be filled with something terrifying.
Exactly. It's what they call the terror of the unseen. He takes this ordinary attic and turns it into this blank canvas for our fears.
It's so true. It's not what we see, it's what we don't see that really gets under our skin. Like, have you ever felt like you were being watched when you're alone in the dark?
Oh, all the time.
Right. You know there's probably nothing there, but you still get that primal fear.
Oh, for sure. And that's where Blackwood is a master. He uses sound, suggestion, just a few details to create this atmosphere where you can practically feel the dread. And then, bam, the creature fully emerges from the painting.
Yeah. This is where the author goes all out with the description, and it is terrifying. We get the gaunt face, the bones practically showing through the skin, those hollow black eyes, the twisted grin, jagged teeth, and this like writhing darkness all around it.
Yeah.
It's a far cry from that woman in the green dress.
It really is.
It's like the more time the painting spends with Ethan, the more monstrous it becomes.
It's a visual representation of all the horror that's been slowly building, right? It's like this creature is a symbol of Ethan's mind unraveling. All his fear, his obsession, all wrapped up in this terrifying form. But it's interesting, Blackwood describes it, but he doesn't go too crazy with the details.
Do you think he's doing that on purpose? Like leaving some things to our imagination?
Oh, I think so. It's like he's saying, this creature is as scary as you want it to be.
Wow, yeah. It's like he's tailoring the horror to each person reading it.
Exactly. And then,
Yeah.
just when you think you've reached the peak of the scariness, Blackwood throws in this crazy twist. The landlord finds the apartment empty. And the painting, well, it's changed again.
Ugh, it's such a disturbing scene. We don't actually see what happens between Ethan and the creature. But the aftermath, that's what really sticks with you. They go in the painting. She's not smirking anymore. She looks terrified. And behind her,
Yeah.
there's this shadowy figure. And it looks like Ethan.
It's such a powerful image, isn't it? It flips everything we thought we knew about haunted paintings.
Right. It's not about the spirit being trapped in the canvas. It's like Ethan has become part of the painting.
It makes you wonder, what happened to him?
Did it drag him in? Did he merge with the painting somehow? Or is it all symbolic, like a representation of his mind completely breaking down?
It's all up to our imaginations, which, like we've been saying, can be the most terrifying part of a story.
It really is. But there's this interesting shift, too. Like, throughout the story, the painting was the source of the horror, right?
Right.
But now it's like it's become a prison. And the woman in the painting, She's trapped with Ethan, forced to watch whatever's happening to him.
It's like the painting consumed him, took his essence, and added him to its collection.
So creepy. What do you think this is saying about the bigger themes of the story?
I think it's about how our obsessions can destroy us. Ethan was so focused on getting this painting, owning something so unique and strange, that he didn't see the danger.
It's like that old saying, be careful what you wish for, but 1,000 times darker.
Yeah, exactly. He got exactly what he wanted, but it came with a very, very steep price.
He got way more than he bargained for.
It's like a cautionary tale almost. Be careful what you're drawn to, because sometimes the darkness is hidden in the most unexpected places.
And it makes you think about art in a whole new way, doesn't it?
It really does.
Like, at first the painting is this beautiful thing, something to admire,
Yeah.
but it's also a doorway to something else, something dark and powerful.
It makes you wonder, does all art have that potential
Mm.
to reflect the darkness inside us?
Or to, like, feed that darkness, make it stronger.
Exactly. And that's what I think Blackwood is getting at in this story. It's not just a haunted painting. It's about human nature, about how much we love the scary stuff, and how close we all are to something we don't understand.
Definitely makes you think twice about the art you have hanging up at home. But jokes aside, the story also uses suggestion in such a powerful way.
Oh, absolutely. Blackwood doesn't spell everything out. He gives us the basics, creepy images, chilling sounds, and then he lets our imaginations run wild. He knows that the scariest stuff is what we create in our own minds.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's like he plants these seeds of unease and they just keep growing even after you finish the story.
Exactly.
So what do you think is the most effective technique he uses? The visuals, the sounds, or something else entirely?
I think it's a combination of everything, but what really makes this story stand out is his use of atmosphere. It's like he's a composer, but instead of music, he's using words and images to create this feeling of dread.
It's like a symphony of fear.
Exactly. Every single detail, from the setting to the characters to how fast or slow the story moves, it all works together to build this incredible sense of terror. He doesn't need cheap scares or tons of violence. He just lets the horror slowly creep in until it's under your skin.
And then there's that ending, like we've been talking about. It leaves us with so many questions. It's almost like Blackwood is challenging us to step into that empty apartment and face that painting ourselves.
He doesn't give us a nice, neat ending, does he? It just leaves you feeling uneasy. The horror is still out there, even after you finish the story.
Like it's waiting for you. And it makes you think, what happens to the painting now? Does it end up with some other poor soul who doesn't know what they're getting into?
Right. The story becomes this warning. Don't mess with things you don't understand. Some things are better left alone.
But that's the funny thing about horror, isn't it? It scares us, but we can't look away.
Totally. There's something about exploring the dark side of human nature, facing our fears, even if it's just in a story.
It's like a safe way to experience real terror. Like riding a roller coaster. You know you're not in any real danger, but your body still reacts to that feeling of falling.
Exactly. And maybe that's why this story, even with that disturbing ending, it leaves you feeling strangely satisfied. You went through this terrifying journey and came out okay on the other side.
And maybe it also reminds us that even when things are really dark, there's always a bit of hope. Like that woman trapped in the painting. She's a reminder that even when terrible things happen, the human spirit can endure.
That's a really beautiful way to look at it. It's like, even in the worst horror, there's still something good, something that reminds us of how strong we can be.
I love that. So as we finish our deep dive into the cursed canvas and its shadowy inhabitants, what's one last thought you want to leave with our listeners?
I'd say be curious, but be careful. The world is full of amazing and mysterious things, but some secrets are best left buried.
Ooh, that's good advice. So listeners, remember, next time you're at an antique shop or looking at a cool piece of art, think about the stories they hold. And if you ever feel like something's watching you, well, maybe it's a good idea to just keep walking.
Until next time, folks.